Hey everyone, Wade Franson here with a sneak peek for our next show this coming Sunday with a returning guest, Joseph Atman, who has a PhD in the philosophy of religion, who has issued the first in his trilogy, A Philosophical War, which is being republished and redistributed. And he's also the founder of Middle Tree, and will be working with Soup Media and Planksip after the acquisition of Planksip. Welcome to the studio, Joe.
Thank you, Wade. Thank you for having me. Thank you for believing in what I do, and thank you for finding my work a home with Something or Other Publishing. So I'm really excited to be here and excited to be with you all officially. So,
well, it's not just at home here with Something or Other, but also with Created in the Image of God, right? Because you use the Genesis story as the launching pad for your philosophical war treatise. Why was that?
yeah, and I'm not a biblical scholar by any stretch of the imagination. However, everyone knows that foundational story in the West of Genesis and of the Garden of Eden. And so I wanted to take knowledge that everybody is aware of and a story that everyone has some familiarity with, regardless of your religious background or upbringing, and use that as a jumping off point to talk about this larger philosophical issue that I diverge into and talk about a number of different things from that origination point, but that's really that jumping off point because of the universal familiarity with it.
Well, and I just, we're always learning something new about the book of Genesis. I just interviewed a scholar from Israel who told me that the Hebrew of those two trees could be rendered the tree of life being the tree of experience, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil being rendered the tree of judgment. But of course, it is about discovery and learning and discerning, and there's also judgment involved, right? So this is fascinating, and I reference your work all the time because it is so foundational in philosophical terms, in theoretical terms, but also in a rubber meets the road. So I want to just quickly bring in your work with Middle Tree, which is an educational organization that seeks to redefine, I think, I mean, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but redefine how education takes place and our approach to learning, right? And I just learned from you that this isn't just for a certain age group in elementary or junior high, but it's soon as anyone learns to, as long as people want to keep learning. So how does all this fit together with your next move, which is to now publish this trilogy, take half a step back from Middle Tree and focus more on introducing these ideas into the mainstream?
Yeah, it's funny because I had my whole academic career been preparing for a career, well, in higher academia, right? As a college professor. That was, when you're going to school, especially for philosophy, religion, and theology, like, that's what you're going to do with your life.
There's nowhere else to apply it, right? The only application
exactly.
is in school, right?
Yeah.
But you found another way.
Right. No. So I did, but it was quite by accident. And it's been a really interesting journey because it's given me this very different perspective, given the background that I have. And yet here we were thrust into working with, and especially when we first started, we were primarily working with elementary, middle, and high school students, and that's now expanded, as you mentioned, to anyone who can do anything academically, from preschool to adults. So it's given me a unique perspective, given the work that I had done in academia before starting Middle Tree, and then with the work that I had done at Middle Tree, it kind of informed the academic and the philosophical work that I was still working on, and it shows up greatly in a philosophical war in a number of different ways that we'll get into.
Well, and that's all we have time for today, but we will be getting into all this, as I mentioned, on a regular basis as we move down this path. So you're going to want to tune in at 7 a.m. Central Time to Create in the Image of God this coming Sunday and hear the full hour of unpacking all the layers of this onion that Joe and I will be talking about. We'll see you there.